What's going on, guys? The Comics Kid 2099 here. Welcome to day 61 of the 365-day graphic novel review challenge. Today, I want to talk to you about another Superman origin story. This one is Superman for All Seasons by Jeph Loeb and Tim Sale. This is a 4-issue miniseries that explores roughly the first year of Superman's origin story from the perspective of different supporting characters in the Superman comics. So we have one issue narrated by Jonathan Kent, one issue by Lois Lane, one by Lex Luthor, and one by Lana Lane. And this also mirrors the 4 seasons of the year. So the first issue is set during the springtime, and then we have one during summer, one during fall, and then one during winter. And I really like that idea. I think that's a neat idea, and it's kind of sort of similar to the gimmick that they went with in The Long Halloween. This is the same creative team that did that storyline for Batman. And I really like this story. In fact, I would say before I read American Alien, this was my favorite Superman origin story. And it's a very, this is going to sound like an insult, but it's really not. Or at least I don't think of it as an insult. But it feels very complacent. Man of Steel is a story that I don't like very much, but it takes some risks. And some of those risks are things that I don't really like about the story. But this story, it feels very comfortable in what it's doing. And I think that might be why a lot of people kind of overlook it. It's just kind of same old, same old. It's stuff that you've seen before in other Superman origin stories, either in the motion picture or Man of Steel, or by this point in the animated series or Lois and Clark. You've kind of seen all these elements before, and now it just feels kind of old and cliche, and we've done that already, and let's move on and do something new and more interesting and a little bit more risky. And I would say that sometimes being risky might even be more important than telling a good story, although that might be a topic that's worth more discussion. But as it is, I really like this story, even if it does feel like it's treading the same ground that we've seen in a lot of other Superman stories. One of the things I really like about this is that we get to see Superman from other characters. Now, we do get to see a lot of Superman in this book. This isn't quite like, I don't know, that one issue of Batman from the 70s that's like entirely narrated by some man on the street, and we barely get any Batman, but we get to see the perspective of this character and how they view Gotham, how they view the supervillains, how they view Batman, stuff like that. This isn't quite like that. We do get to see a lot of Clark Kent and a lot of Superman. We get to see his plights. We get to see him struggle with his alien nature, and also with his role in the life of humanity. I really like all of that. It's really worth reading. A lot of people really like to take a dump on Jeph Loeb, but this story is one of the best Superman stories that I've ever read. I really like the trajectory that they take Superman during this story, and personally, I think that people who like to give Jeph Loeb a hard time should give this story a look. And also, Tim Sale's art is spot on, as always. The color palette here is very similar to The Dark Knight Returns, at least I felt, and that's very strange because a dull, muted color palette, that works for Batman because he's a creature of darkness and a creature of the night, so it makes sense to use those kind of dull colors in a story like that. But in a Superman story, I didn't really understand using the color scheme that was used in that book. Maybe they weren't intentionally doing that, but when you open this book and we open on a picture of Superman and then we zoom in on the S, it very much reminded me of that scene that introduces Superman in The Dark Knight Returns, where we zoom in on Superman's S. And I feel like that had to be at least a little bit intentional, but I thought the color scheme, or the use of this particular color scheme, was a little bit weird, but I really love Tim Sale's art. He is killing it like he always does. This is one of Jeph Loeb's better stories. If you are interested in Superman, if you want to see maybe not necessarily the definitive Superman story, but the Superman story that takes all of the elements that you're familiar with and kind of throws a new spin on them by having other characters narrate those events, then you definitely should check this out. I don't think that this is an overrated story. I don't think that this is a story that a lot of people give enough credit to. If anything, I think it's underrated. But those are my rough, brief thoughts on Superman for All Seasons. I really like this story. I think that you guys probably will as well. And that's all I have to say today. I hope that you guys liked this video, and if you did, be sure to like, share, comment, and subscribe, and I will be back tomorrow with a different kind of video. In the meantime, you guys have a great rest of the day. Catch you later.